Welcome to the CompTIA Security Plus SY0-701 Question Bank Series. In this video, I've got 15 exam-style practice questions lined up for you, covering the kind of general security concepts, threat and vulnerability, security architecture, security operations, and program management scenarios you'll see on the real SY0-701 exam. Each question comes with the correct answer and a full explanation, including why the wrong options are wrong. Here's how to get the most out of this. When a question appears, pause the video, pick your answer, then hit play to check yourself. Ready? Let's dive in. Question 1. A company installs steel bollards at the entrance to its data center and stations security guards at the lobby. Which security control company do these measures represent? The correct answer is A, physical. Bollards and security guards are physical controls, tangible measures that protect facilities, equipment, and personnel from harm or unauthorized access. Now, why the other options are wrong? Technical is incorrect. Technical, logical controls are implemented through technology, such as firewalls, encryption, and access control lists, not physical barriers. Managerial is incorrect. Managerial controls are administrative in nature, such as policies, risk assessments, and procedures, not physical objects. Operational is incorrect. Operational controls are processes carried out by people, for example, awareness training or configuration management. The barriers themselves are physical controls. Question 2. After ransomware encrypts several file servers, an administrator restores the affected files from clean backups to return the systems to normal operation. Which type of security control is the restoration? The correct answer is B, corrective. A corrective control acts after an incident to limit damage and restore systems to their normal state. Backup restoration is a classic example. Now, why the other options are wrong? Preventive is incorrect. A preventive control stops an incident before it occurs, for example, a firewall rule. Restoring data after the attack does not prevent it. Detective is incorrect. A detective control identifies and alerts on an incident, such as an IDS. Restoring files does not detect the attack. Deterrent is incorrect. A deterrent control discourages an attacker, such as a warning banner or visible camera. It does not remediate damage that has already occurred. Question 3. In a zero-trust architecture, an access request is evaluated against policy and current trust signals before a session is allowed. Within the control plane, which component makes the ultimate decision to grant or deny the request? The correct answer is C, policy engine. The policy engine evaluates the request against policy and adaptive trust signals and renders the grant or deny decision. The policy administrator and PEP then carry it out. Now, why the other options are wrong? Policy Enforcement Point, PEP, is incorrect. The PEP operates in the data plane and enforces the decision by allowing or blocking the connection. It does not make the decision itself. Policy Administrator is incorrect. The policy administrator executes the decision by establishing or terminating the session, but it acts on the determination made by the policy engine. Subject is incorrect. The subject is the user or system requesting access, the party being evaluated, not a decision-making component. Question 4. The finance team receives an email that appears to come from the CEO, uses the CEO's name and writing style, and urgently requests a wire transfer. It was sent only to the 4 people who can authorize payments. Which technique best describes this attack? The correct answer is D, spear phishing. A tailored email aimed at a specific small group using personalized details is spear phishing. Impersonating the CEO to authorize a transfer is also a form of business email compromise. Now, why the other options are wrong? Phishing is incorrect. Generic phishing is sent broadly to many recipients. This message was crafted for and sent only to a small, specific group, which is more targeted than ordinary phishing. Whaling is incorrect. Whaling targets high-profile individuals such as executives. Here, the executive is being impersonated, and the targets are finance staff. Vishing is incorrect. Vishing is voice or phone-based social engineering. This attack was conducted over email. Question 5. A web application inserts user-supplied input directly into a database query without sanitization. An attacker types or 1 = 1 into the login field and is granted access. Which vulnerability was exploited? The correct answer is A. SQL injection. Inserting SQL syntax such as or 1 = 1 into an unsanitized query to alter its logic is SQL injection. The fix is parameterized, prepared queries, and input validation. Now, why the other options are wrong? Cross-site scripting, XSS, is incorrect. XSS injects client-side scripts that run in other users' browsers. It does not manipulate the database query itself. Cross-site request forgery, CSRF, is incorrect. CSRF tricks an authenticated user's browser into submitting an unwanted request. It does not inject SQL into a query. Buffer overflow is incorrect. A buffer overflow writes data beyond an allocated memory boundary. It is unrelated to manipulating a database query. Question 6. An analyst observes a server sending a steady stream of DNS queries that contain unusually long, random-looking subdomain strings to a single external domain at regular intervals. Which activity is most likely occurring? The correct answer is B. DNS tunneling. Encoding data inside long subdomain labels and sending it through DNS queries is DNS tunneling, frequently used for data exfiltration or command and control. Now, why the other options are wrong? DNS poisoning is incorrect. DNS poisoning corrupts a resolver's cache to redirect users to malicious sites. It does not involve a host sending long, encoded queries outbound. Domain hijacking is incorrect. Domain hijacking changes the registration or ownership of a domain. It is not characterized by a host emitting encoded outbound queries. Typo squatting is incorrect. Typo squatting registers misspelled lookalike domains to catch user typos. It does not match this outbound query pattern. Question 7. A security team is concerned about attackers exploiting a software flaw that is unknown to the vendor and for which no patch yet exists. Which term describes this kind of vulnerability? The correct answer is C. 0-day. A 0-day is a vulnerability unknown to the vendor with no patch available, leaving defenders 0 days to prepare before exploitation. Now, why the other options are wrong? Legacy system is incorrect. A legacy system is outdated software or hardware. Its vulnerabilities are usually known and documented, not unknown to the vendor. Misconfiguration is incorrect. A misconfiguration is an insecure system that can be corrected. It is not an undisclosed flaw in the vendor's code. Race condition is incorrect. A race condition is a timing-dependent flaw, such as time of check to time of use. It is a specific vulnerability class, not a description of an unpatched vendor unknown flaw. Question 8. Which threat actor is most associated with substantial financial resources, highly advanced capabilities, and long-term espionage objectives? The correct answer is D. Nation-state, APT. Nation-state actors, or advanced persistent threats, have substantial funding, sophisticated tooling, and pursue long-term strategic and espionage goals. Now, why the other options are wrong? Script kiddie is incorrect. Script kiddies have low skill and rely on existing tools. They lack advanced capabilities and significant funding. Hacktivist is incorrect. Hacktivists are motivated by ideology and vary widely in skill. They are not defined by large budgets or sustained espionage. Insider threat is incorrect. An insider threat is defined by legitimate access to the organization, not by external funding or nation-grade espionage capability. Question 9. Under the Shared Responsibility Model for Infrastructure as a Service, IaaS, which task is the customer responsible for? The correct answer is A, patching the guest operating system. In IaaS, the customer manages the operating system, applications, and data, which includes patching the guest OS. Now, why the other options are wrong? Securing the physical data center is incorrect. The cloud provider is responsible for the physical security of the facility in every cloud service model. Maintaining the hypervisor is incorrect. The provider owns and maintains the virtualization layer and hypervisor in IaaS. Securing the underlying network hardware is incorrect. The provider is responsible for securing the underlying physical network infrastructure. Question 10. A company wants to ensure that if the physical disks holding its database are stolen, the data on them cannot be read. Which control best meets this requirement? The correct answer is B, encryption at rest. Encrypting data at rest makes the stored database files unreadable without the decryption key, protecting them if the disks are stolen. Now, why the other options are wrong? Data masking is incorrect. Masking obscures data in displays or test environments, but does not protect the actual files if the disks are stolen. Tokenization in transit is incorrect. Tokenization substitutes sensitive values with tokens, and in transit protects data moving across networks, not files sitting on disk. Hashing is incorrect. Hashing is a one-way function used for integrity verification. It does not allow the original data to be recovered for legitimate use. Question 11. An organization wants the ability to fail over to a secondary site that is fully equipped, continuously updated, and able to resume operations within minutes of a disaster. Which recovery site type meets this need? The correct answer is C, hot site. A hot site is fully equipped and kept continuously in sync, enabling failover and resumption of operations within minutes. Now, why the other options are wrong? Cold site is incorrect. A cold site provides space and power but no configured systems or data. Recovery can take days. Warm site is incorrect. A warm site has some equipment and periodically updated data, but still requires configuration. Recovery typically takes hours. Mobile site is incorrect. A mobile site is a portable, transportable facility. It does not by itself provide near-instant failover. Question 12. A security architect wants to ensure that a compromised IoT sensor cannot communicate directly with the company's database servers. Which approach best achieves this isolation? The correct answer is D, network segmentation using VLANs and access control lists. Placing IoT devices on a separate VLAN and using ACLs to restrict their traffic prevents them from reaching the database servers. Now, why the other options are wrong? Implementing a DMZ for public web servers is incorrect. A DMZ isolates internet-facing servers from the internal network, but it does not by itself separate internal IoT devices from internal database servers. Enabling full disk encryption on the database servers is incorrect. Encryption protects data at rest. It does nothing to control which devices can communicate with the servers over the network. Deploying a load balancer in front of the databases is incorrect. A load balancer distributes traffic for performance and availability. It does not isolate IoT devices from the database tier. Question 13. A user authenticates to a laptop by scanning a fingerprint. Which authentication factor does this represent? The correct answer is A, Something you are. Biometric characteristics such as fingerprints, facial geometry, and retina patterns are inherence factors, something you are. Now, why the other options are wrong? Something you know is incorrect. Something you know is a knowledge factor, such as a password or PIN. Something you have is incorrect. Something you have is a possession factor, such as a smart card, security key, or token. Somewhere you are is incorrect. Somewhere you are is a location-based factor, for example, geolocation or network, not a biometric trait. Question 14. A company wants employees to log in once and then access several independent internal applications without entering their credentials again. Which technology directly provides this capability? The correct answer is B, single sign-on. SSO. SSO lets a user authenticate once and then access multiple applications without re-entering credentials for each one. Now, why the other options are wrong? Multi-factor authentication, MFA, is incorrect. MFA strengthens a single authentication by requiring multiple factors. It does not eliminate the need to re-authenticate to separate applications. Federation is incorrect. Federation extends identity across separate organizations or trust domains and often enables SSO between them, but the capability of one login for many apps is provided by SSO itself. Radius is incorrect. Radius is a centralized AAA protocol used mainly for network access authentication. It is not a single login for many apps mechanism. Question 15. A security team wants to reduce the attack surface of a production server. Which action best accomplishes this? The correct answer is C, disabling unnecessary services and closing unused ports. Removing services that are not needed and closing unused ports eliminates potential entry points, directly shrinking the attack surface. Now, why the other options are wrong? Increasing the minimum password length is incorrect. Stronger passwords improve credential security, but do not reduce the number of exposed services or ports on the server. Enabling verbose debug logging is incorrect. Verbose logging helps with troubleshooting and can even expose additional information. It does not reduce the attack surface. Adding more RAM to the server is incorrect. Increasing hardware capacity has no effect on the server's exposure to attack. And that's a wrap on this video. Nice work getting through those 15 questions. If this helped, you're going to want the complete set. All 540 exam-style questions, with full explanations across all 5 SY0-701 domains, are available in my Udemy course, CompTIA Security Plus, SY0-701. 6 practice exams. The link is in the description below. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video, where I'll walk you through 15 more questions. See you in the next video!